my dance, make it hurt.
What's up, relentless traders? It's your host, Surreal.
And Juan, and welcome to episode 17. Right?
Yeah, we're just gonna do a review this week. I think we didn't really have any main topic to discuss, but
No.
just wanted to get an episode in and review some stuff.
Yep. Um let's see. This week the sellers are back.
Uh,
uh
yeah,
Nasty selling consecutively for the past 2 days. Just like I mean flushing it. Um I think it's crazy to think too, because everybody was seeing like I know you're not looking at the indexes anymore, but everybody was like, oh my god, inverse head and shoulder on like the daily chart on SPY and QQQ and this and that. And I'm like, I feel like when everybody sees the pattern, it tends to fail more.
I don't
Uh,
know. I don't necessarily agree. I just think certain patterns are just like not as reliable. I guess
well,
that's just my take. Because and then it also like everything depends on variables. But
yeah, for sure.
yeah, I totally feel it though. Like especially on the indexes, I feel like it's just all games.
Yeah, it's been I mean, whirlwind of a week. It was looking really, really nice till about Tuesday or Wednesday, and
Mm.
then Wednesday got a little choppy, and then I think they've brought ES down like 220 points, and NQ was down like 700 or 800 points. I mean, Tech got absolutely crushed. And honestly, it looks like we're coming back down to the lows from early year. So,
Mm.
uh, just gotta see how they continue to kind of fool around with the market here, and what the next couple weeks is going to give us,
Mhm.
and then we will go from there. But there was some decent things out there. I know you had a pretty good week.
Yeah, I'm trying. I don't know if I said in the last episode, but I'm trying. Well, I am. I'm not looking at the indexes really, and I'm just focusing on my setups because they're trend following setups anyways. So I really don't know. And I got off Twitter too, so I don't really. I'm trying to cut myself off and focus on stuff, and I don't really know which the overall market's doing other than the stocks that I'm watching for my setups, and then just scanning for the biggest stocks moving and following them, building a list of those. So kind of how they're seeing like my list has shown a lot of breakdowns and stuff, but I know you got a couple trades in this week, so you wanted to go over your index trade.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a big thing for me moving forward. I found myself kind of like a chicken with its head chopped off. Like kind of, I don't have a set scan. I have just like a list of stocks that I kind of quickly run through every night, see if they're setting up at any key levels, at any key demand or supply zones, and I kind of go from there. So I felt like for a while I've been like with a chicken with a head chopped off, and I took a trade on the same day. I took a trade on Walmart all-time high break. It worked out decent. I got my gains off of it. It broke out through all-time high, came back, retested the high, and then moved what would have been in my direction again really well. But by that time, I was completely out of the position for like a 25% winner. And then that same day, I believe this was Wednesday, I took a trade on SPY off the ES chart, which I do, and I'll switch over to that here shortly. Here, there we go. Let me zoom in here a little bit. So there was a this ES chart here. This was from Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. This formed a supply zone from this drop. Obviously, you can see in pre-market this was heavy resistance. Tapped once, two, three, like four times. Got really wicky at the open, and dropped heavily. I tend not to chase those initial drops because they could be fake outs. So I was waiting for this to kind of get moving back up into that supply. Usually, if it's a if it's a key supply zone, or if it's an important supply zone, price tends to, much like the man zone, price tends to drift back into that zone, and then the follow through for continuation. So I watched for that zone, low volume. This was a high volume drop. Low volume started picking up just kind of into that zone, and it formed a 5 minute doji here where I kind of took position in this next candle right as it was picking up some steam towards the lows. You can see the volume push through on this candle. I got out right here, and the next candle, my target was VWAP, but I have one contract on at all times, and the contract was spiking on that IV spike that you get when you get the volume like pushing through and you get a lot of contracts being bought at once.
Mhm.
So I just let it go for 23, 24%. The contract did run obviously a little more, but overall this was a really good trade. And I kind of used the equities I have another chart set up with like equities on my other screen. I was kind of using them to like gauge the strength of the market, and you could see clear weakness in the market as this was heading back into that supply zone. So a lot of things here aligned. ES was in supply, NQ was double topping in supply, and then the equities market was just, I mean, it was showing a lot of relative weakness. So to me, it was a no brain. It was kind of a no brainer trade. I set it, kind of set my stop at the high over here and let it go. And that's exactly what it did. I mean, the trade worked out really well. Never came back against me, and kind of closed out the position happily, obviously.
Mhm.
And so overall, it was a red week for me. The following day, I took two trades on Twitter. Both got stopped out. One for a little bigger of a loss than I would have hoped for. There was some slippage, and the IV was super weird, just for whatever reason. So the pullbacks kind of hit me. I took another position, kind of like in the middle of the day when it was holding that zone really well, and one of those pullbacks when the market was pulling back yesterday took me out. That one was a small, like 10% loss, but I wasn't going to give that one room. And Twitter gapped up and ran a little bit at the start of the day. So
Mhm.
that might have been a decent swing, but I wasn't gonna. I mean, not with the market looking the way it was. Not for me, especially not on option contracts that are a week out. So overall, my focus is going to be ES and NQ moving forward. I will still be looking at the equities market, but there just hasn't been the follow through that I've been looking for. The scalability that I want, the liquidity that I want on some of the opportunities that I've seen. So I am going to be looking. I'm going to be my focus is going to be more so shifting into
Mhm.
trading SPY and QQQ contracts off of ES and NQ charts.
Nice.
But that's it for me.
You you got the chart switched over? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was looking at something else. Yeah, so for what I've been watching, like, I just have like a working list like us talking about, and I kind of these are just stocks that were up on not really necessarily volume, but price up off their lows and stuff and make big moves. And that's all I'm looking for is just stocks making big moves, holding up well. And then I'm looking for ranges to try and trade them higher when they break out. Obviously, we're in like bear market type of environment. So breakouts, aren't the ideal strategy, but there's ways I feel like to trade the ranges, and I'm learning that. And I'm definitely, and some stuff is still working too. So surprisingly, just got to be really selective and look for things. And I tried a couple of things this week. I tried Oxy. I noticed like earlier in the week, I think like Tuesday or Wednesday, the Oilers looked like they were setting up, and I have several Oilers on this working list here. And Oxy was looking really good in here on the 19th, and it started getting tight. So I was really watching it, and then it closed just below my range right here the next day on the 20th, and then I actually traded it this day here, the 21st yesterday, and The opening, let's see here, opening 5 minute, this bar right here, I bought it up on this wick somewhere, and it just, I was trying to handle, I think, Twitter. I had bought an early position in Twitter, so I was trying to like handle that position, and I didn't get my hard stop in on this because it looked like it was going to keep going pretty fast. So I switched screens real quick. I should have put my hard stop in at the low of the day, um, and instead it ended up selling down here, right at this inverted hammer, right at the low. And then I switched back to Twitter again after I came back to this, and I had to like, handle this position, work out of it. So it was about double my normal loss that I wanted. So, which is pretty unacceptable. But nonetheless, nothing that I can't manage. If I should have re-entered, I could have re-entered right here on the break of this, on the invalidation of this, trying to push lower when it gave this inverted hammer and then started moving back up. I could have entered on the break of that hammer, or I could have entered at the break of this candle body here for the high of the day push. But instead, I bought up here, so I chased it a bit. But on the second flush, it was consolidating nicely here, and then you got like a shooting star here on this consolidation failed breakout, and it took me out break even. So no big deal there. Could have kept that first loss smaller. Going over to Twitter, though, I'm really proud of this trade. It's probably my best trade of the year so far. Uh, we have the gap up day from, I think that's when news dropped of Elon talking about buying it, and it ran to 54, which is actually what he said he would pay for it per share. We pulled off of that. So I put an AVWAP, an anchored VWAP, off of that gap up day to kind of see where those buyers from that day, because there's massive volume there. I mean, 280 million shares that day. So I want to see the average participant from then on, what their position is like. And that AVWAP really shows me that. So we could see after that flush back through, the average participant, the average buyer from this point on has been underwater in their position. So it's acting as resistance there. I also saw it started to form a range here. And I told Juan in the Discord this week, I was like, oh man, I really like Twitter for a short. Because like if this keeps delaying with Elon, like even though it's kind of bullish, I was like, I really like it for a short because I was looking at this as kind of like a bear flag here, ranging. And then I thought about it, like I really took a look at this pattern here and like the volume clues, and it wasn't really screaming to me that there were sellers there, that there were aggressive sellers there. I mean, you had the big up day, and then volume starts to drop off. Price undercuts the gap up day a little bit, but I mean, it gets down in this air pocket here, and it doesn't really do much. It kind of swoops in and goes sideways, and we have one big volume day here. But I think I looked intraday. Let's see, kind of peaked at it intraday here, and make sure that's the day. And just, it didn't seem like there was aggressive selling in there. Like for that big volume bar, like, yeah, it had the gap up to the top of the range and it kind of sold off hard. But then after that, volume just kind of decreased. Even though it's a big, ugly bar and with big volume, doesn't necessarily mean that's all aggressive selling, right? Because most of the volume took place on the gap up. And then it kind of just slowly filled that gap and then went sideways off those lows. So other than that, I mean, we had some accumulation in here, some of these up green days, right here off the bottom of the range. And then volume kept dropping off, kept getting quieter. And so I saw it on this day here, 420. And let's scroll over there a little bit. And we are right here on this day. And I just kind of saw it towards the end of the day here, like just churning at the bottom of the range, and you could just see the volume. I mean, look at the volume drop off, dude, to like nothing, to nothing. And that's when I was like, oh, like I kind of like, I was thinking like I wanted it short. And then after I did a little bit more deeper analysis before, I was like, oh, maybe I'll look to short it the next day or something, because that would have been a nice gap fill if it came out of this range. And I was like, you know what, like there's a lot of accumulation. I was like, let me put a little small long on. So I put a little limit order right in here somewhere, and it kind of dipped down and grabbed me. And 50-cent stop. So right below, the low of the day there, 50 cents. Got on for a little small position and it ran up. I took half off at the top of the range into close. And then the next day, we had a gap down under this range. It opened back at the bottom of that range, but not enough to take me out. My stop was still 50 cents lower, not even hit break even. And then we ripped higher and we consolidated nicely. Look at this nice VCP pattern here, right? In this range, just like getting tighter and tighter on every pullback. And where do we close? Close right around here. Let me switch to the 15. It looks a lot cleaner on the 15. And you could just see this gyration getting tighter and tighter. And right here, I threw about like 150 shares on extra to add to my position on the break of like my primary range here. And the next day we get a gap up out of the secondary range. I was really watching at that AVWAP, and I just started this morning, like we were talking one. I just started unloading pieces on the way up 25, 25, 25, 25. Uh, and I really wanted to see it hold right above here. I had a level at 48.90. Maybe we could see it better on the hourly. 48.90 about is where I was watching.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I don't think I have after. There was some after hours action and toss that I was kind of charting, so that was a level, and then obviously the anchored VWAP here um, is what I was really watching. So on this candle here, I sold my last two portions into weakness because I look at the buyout as a binary event, a 50-50, and I had a really good execution on. I got a lot of my size off, and I just said, you know what, like holding over a long weekend, it's a 50-50 chance. Like if they say no to Elon, I mean this could easily gap down, how who knows how many points. So why, risk this coming back in and gapping down on me with a small amount of size on versus what he said buy out of 54. That's, I had like 25, 50 shares left. So that just wasn't worth the risk to reward to me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to close it out. So I just sold pretty much all into this move over here. It actually bounced nicely, but I was just really proud of my execution. Like I got small position starter on, took a little bit off. It broke the range. I added more size on because it was working right and it was a good setup. And then I took advantage in this quick market to get it off and secure profit. So I don't really have to worry about it. So I'm really happy with that trade, man. Like, just it feels good to having a plan and then executing your plan and then being able to benefit from that.
Yeah. I think I mean, it's important to note like the amount of growth there because typically you'd fully scale in before too, for like full position size. It's not like, oh, let me add on a little bit here and see how it reacts, and then
Mhm.
and then you began to scale in, and then, I mean, you scaled out first to secure some gains, and then you scaled back in when it was acting really well. And
Yeah,
so that really allowed you to like secure even more gains
totally.
as it gapped up today and then started kind of pushing and run. So overall, it's really good execution. I did take two losses on that Twitter this week, on that kind of where you showed that VCP pattern.
Mhm.
Like we know on options, I mean, small pullbacks like that can really mess with your options contracts if you're not on a bigger contract far out.
Mhm.
So I got stopped out twice on that thing. Um, but that was really good execution on your end.
Yeah, I'm really happy. It's hard for me to scale in like that because I haven't done it, but like, to be able to execute this felt really good. And then, I'm going to go back and do a full write up of this explanation I just gave here, just to really internalize and study it and say, where could I have maybe done a little better, if at all, or, you know, just study the price action. I think I damn near executed this like perfectly that, to my ability, but there's always room to study and internalize the trade. So I can try and do this, replicate this, right? Because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So super exciting, really happy about it. Like it wasn't like massive. It was like, $500 in my account on this, but more so just getting the experience and executing flawlessly is like the money, no amount of money I don't think will ever beat that. Like,
The feeling's a whole different story.
yeah, and nothing's greater than having size on and prices running, and you just have like you have product to sell to willing buyers. Like that was just awesome this morning. I was like, I don't know how hard it's going to run. I don't know how high it's going to go. I mean, I have levels, and I was just like, I don't know if it's going to fail at this range. Sell some. I don't know if it's going to reject a AVWAP. Sell some. Oh, we broke through AVWAP. Sell some. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, there's a huge shooting star. It might consolidate here, but like, I'm just gonna sell some here.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And then you're left with a decent amount, smaller size, and it's like you got to take into the other variables into account. The weak market. This is a binary event with a buyout, 50-50 chance. I got money on the table. So I was like, I'm just gonna draw some lines in the sand with this last little bit. If it holds and goes higher, cool. Maybe I'll let a small piece go into the weekend if it really started going right. But it just kind of consolidated and then it came back in, and I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna let this. I'm not gonna let this profit come back in. And so just put some stop orders in on the last two pieces, and like totally okay with me. Like I'll take my money now, and that's getting me used to that. So it's really hard because as a swing trader, I want to trade a trend. I want to hold it for longer.
Yeah.
But in these conditions, it's forced me to really not let the give the market a chance to come in on me and take my profits that I earn. I scan for these stocks. I have to chart them. I put a lot of time in. So, to let something pop 10, 15%, and me like being like, no, that's not good enough. Like, no, I can't do that, like, but when the market gets healthier again and it's time to hold trends, like I know I have that. That's like my personality trait and I won't have trouble with that. But this is really training me to like get better at like getting defensive and securing my gains. So
Yep, 100%. I think it's been and especially for you, I know it's been a productive week.
yeah, it's tiring, but with the market conditions too, it's tough for everybody right now. And like, we've seen people that we follow and stuff, a lot have dropped out this first quarter of the year, I would say. A lot of people have got washed out,
Yep.
and it could get worse. It could stay like this for another year. Who knows? Like, I mean, there will be tradable rallies and stuff in between, or everybody's different. Everybody's got a different strategy, but it's really tough when you're new to trade through a market like this, because when you hear other traders who have been around for years saying this is one of the toughest markets they've seen, I'm sure next to the dot-com bubble, bear market after that when that popped, this is probably one of the toughest markets. So I think if we can make it through this, like, and we can keep learning, I'm really, really excited to see what's on the other end of that, because it's not all fun and games. Like this is one good trade, but like I've had like a really, I don't know about you, and I know you've had a great year so far, and even then it still takes a toll on you because you just, you got to fight mentally through.
I mean, even this week, right? Even this week, like this week, I hit all time high on my account, like my
Oh
equity
wow,
curve.
okay.
I hit all time high on my equity curve, and I gave it all right back. I mean, on
Mhm.
two trades. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
two trades that like I know where my stop loss is at. Like I know my technical levels. I know what my risk tolerance is. But then like you get hit with a bad trade like that, and you're like mentally, you just get flushed once again. And like I'm
Yeah.
still up whatever 30%. But then you look back and you're like, wow, like how did I manage to kind of screw this one up? And this is why
Mhm.
it's so key to like go back and journal and review and like
Yeah.
really see what happened and what could you have avoided? What were the clues that told you like don't get in here? You should have gotten up there or down here, or you shouldn't have even been in at all. Like
Mhm.
that, there's it's a matter of really going back and kind of seeing what works for you personally.
Yeah, it's definitely a performance game in that sense too. It's like you have to do that review, and we've talked about that so much. It's so important to really track and see what's going on and learn from that so you don't keep doing the same wrong thing over again. And it just from there it just takes time to really learn all the lessons you have to learn until you just get good enough. And
Yeah,
we're still here though grinding, so it's like,
we have to.
but
Yeah,
we will be but see, that's what I love about this game is like we're going to be there when it's time to reap the rewards too, and we're going to have the tools to really capitalize in that environment. We're surviving through this while other people are blowing up, losing money, getting tired, like can't take it. Like we're here still learning. So, it will be nice to see a good market, like a healthy market environment, whenever that may be, or just a good healthy rally where we can really capture these clean moves.
yeah,
Because right now I just feel like it's like navigating like caution tape and traffic cones, and like, it's like you never know if you're about to go off of a cliff, but that's why you manage risk and you just try your best to like preserve your account, grow it, even if it's a small amount, like, and just learn through this. And then really, really get to. I want to see us press the gas when we get a good rally in the market. I would really love to see that because I think we're so much more focused um in managing risk and like what we're looking for in setups and stuff like that. And if we can get that good leg where we can get some really big growth and then be able to differentiate from a shit environment to a decent environment that's trending and like see that performance difference, I think that'll really help when we shift gears back again, into a corrective phase or a bear market, even a bear market, whenever that next one may be after this. I think we'll be much more positioned to handle it better.
Yeah. It's been a whirlwind because like we went from like busy and everything running hard and setting up like nice setups with continuation and the ability for us to kind of follow through to like this environment. And this is definitely what makes or breaks a trader in the long term from what I've seen, because I mean even us being exposed to like to all these people, all these really good, quote unquote good traders that came from the 2020 era. um they're blowing up, you know what I'm saying, because they've never experienced stuff like this, and they made a killing in 2020, and then you go and hit them with something like this and it's like, oh my god, the market's rigged.
Mhm.
Like it's like, no, you just kind of got to learn and go with the flow. And like you said, it's a survival thing. Like as long as this is like, we just got to survive through it, and we got to learn all that we can about this type of environment so we can
Yeah.
continue making strides in the long term.
Yeah, it's just every day getting better, just trying to get better every day, every week that you can, and I think it's really stacking up. Like, I feel so humbled from the beginning of this year because I was like, oh yeah, like I'm confident in saying that we're both consistently profitable, and I'm just like the longer I trade and the more I keep doing this, like the more I realize there's just like you'll never be perfect. You'll never have it all figured out. But eventually you'll get to a working point where you can gain performance, but there'll always be that next level you could take it to. And that's exciting, but humbling at the same time because you really don't understand that until you keep going through the same shit. You're like, "Oh, like why do I keep losing? Why do I keep
Yeah.
and you just got to work through it, do the work and figure it out and correct your mistakes and keep chipping away at it. You just can't quit. You got to be relentless. Literally, that's the only way.
It's the
No matter
only
how
way.
long you lose, and everybody's different.
Yeah, everybody's journey is going to look different, so can't compare yourself to the next person.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I cut Twitter off and the indexes.
Yeah.
All social media. I'm just barricading myself in my office and I'm just got my scanners. I got my setup and I'm just gonna let that lead me and we'll see where we end up at the end of the year. So
Yep.
I tell you what, I'm much happier mentally after doing that.
That's
I'm in a
good.
much better mental space. Like just worrying about myself, like, and not stressing myself out with other people, like making gains. I don't give a shit about that anymore. Like
Yeah.
one, it helps to not have it in my like me intaking that every day. So it's taking a lot of pressure off me mentally, and that's allowing me to focus on just getting better because it's like at the end of the day, that's all I can do, and that's what I love to do. Like
Yeah.
so,
I get it. I get it.
yeah, man. You want to close us out with anything, or I feel like that was
Yeah,
pretty good
that's it.
review.
That was I mean, as we say, every week, this is kind of like a review for us. And kind of where we're headed to in our own personal journeys when it comes to trading. And I mean, all I can say is fuck, it's hard.
It
Like,
is. It's really hard.
it's not easy, man. Like, so, there's weeks where I just like, even on a green weeks, there's weeks where I just like, I'll sit there after a Friday and I'll be like, wow, what the heck, man? Like, I'm mentally just flushed. And then
Yeah.
and then Sunday night, I pick up the charts and it's, like, back to it. It's like just grinding it out, you know what I'm saying? Reading over
Hmm.
the weekend, reading at nights after the market closes, being
Yeah.
prepared, scanning, all that. Like, it's gonna take time, it's gonna take effort, but I'm gonna keep grinding at it, man, because that's what I'm in for the long haul, right? Like, everybody
Hmm.
thinks trading could be it could very well be a get rich quick for you, but that's not 99% of the people who stay in the market. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is not how
100%. Yeah.
that's not how it is. So, uh if I can guarantee anything, is that, every individual who's in the market for the long haul is going to have to put in some hard work to stay in it.
Yeah, that's you can't get around it. There's no other way.
Yep.
But
But
hopefully, we hit that 2 to 3 year mark, and things really start to like turn. Like that's what I say. Like I'm gonna love to come back to these and really like review them, especially at like the end of the year. Like I may rewatch all these and take notes on our conversations just to kind of see, because that differentiation can really help with seeing how far you've come, and also like pick up small things that you may not know. So these are mainly for us anyways, and hopefully it helps other people too. But that's all I got, man.
yeah,
Another week in the books. We're still kicking, so I love it. We're gonna be much further along at the end of the year. We got 8 months left, right? So
still two
plenty of time, dude.
2/3 of the year, so we haven't even done fucking 30% of the year so far, so we're good.
Jeez. Yeah, totally. All right, man. I'm gonna close this out.
Yeah.
Thanks guys for watching. Remember, manage your risk, stay focused, be relentless. See you in the next one.
Peace.
Later, man.